Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
He's a wonderful example of the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, and he's been known to be called Big Book Kenny. So please help me welcome from METAIRIE, Louisiana, Kenny F.
I love you, baby. Everyone should have Let me get all of me up here. Gotta see what time it is. Can't go over. Y'all will leave. I will be talking to myself as I usually do.
Now you're tearing it up.
Huh?
Don't tear it up.
All right. I don't. If they had two of these things, I'd stay up here all night. My name's Kenny Floyd, and I'm an alcoholic. I want to thank everybody who has anything to do with me being back in Bryan College Station, Texas tonight. I was here about 18 years ago as a speaker, and I have probably done, I don't know, I'm guessing somewhere in the neighborhood of maybe 40 of these things in time I've been sober, convention-wise. I don't recall ever having a better time than I had that night 18 years ago here. We laughed together, we had fun together, we cried together, and I like to believe that we recovered together that night. I often talk about that night to other people. You pick up little tips and tricks along the way from others. And I wasn't supposed to be the speaker. Mick had called me on Wednesday. I think the fellow who was supposed to speak on Saturday night had some illnesses and flew me in at the last minute. And, rather large crowd than this, but I thought that the meeting started at 8 o'clock. In some kind of way, it started at 7:30 or something. And I told people, I said, listen, before I talk, I'd like to have a little time where I can get some quiet time so I can see if I can get right with the God of my understanding. Oh, no problem, Kenny, no problem, okay. So somebody came up to me with about 10 minutes before I was supposed to go on and said, aren't you going to put a suit on? You're talking tonight. And I said, I got plenty of time. No, you're on in 10 minutes. Well, to the room and threw my suit on. Couldn't find one of my socks. And I normally like to try to start by asking God to let me be a messenger and an instrument and a tool. And to not let my ego get in the way. And I had to do that rather quickly at the bathroom right before I came in. And I happened to kneel down in front of the toilet, and I was begging God for some humility. And I stood up, and my necktie had been in the toilet the whole time. I'm talking about a big crowd, huh, Mick? I had to come up here with all my pants wet, you know. Dumbass, you asked for humility, you got it. About halfway through the talk, it felt like something was crawling up my leg. And I just couldn't take it anymore. And I picked up my pants leg, and there was my sock. I guess is the reason why I haven't been back in 18 years. But at least all those people, probably most of them are dead by now, so. You know, cheerful and laughter. And we read about, Lisa read about, why shouldn't we laugh? Well, we have recovered and been given the power to help others. I never want to laugh unless I remember one day I cried. I cried out to God, who I didn't even know at the time. I said, I can't do this no more. Whatever you got to do, do it. I just can't do it no more. Much to my amazement, 2 weeks later, he intervened in my life. Today, last night, Rochelle and I were talking about, today's my anniversary. I didn't even realize it, one of my anniversaries. And today's August the 2nd. And August the 2nd in 1988, 25 years ago, I walked into treatment modality. Stayed 28 days. And for anyone who's in treatment or been in treatment, I applaud you. The book tells us that we favor hospitalization. But I also want to tell you what my experience was. Treatment centers separated me from alcohol and traditions, let me see. Alcohol and outside issues. Huh? That's all right, I think. Outside issues. A friend of mine, Bicycle Joe, says the reason they call it outside issues is even if you're in a bar, you got to go outside to do them. So I'm going to try to stay to the traditions and just leave it at outside issues. I did not stay sober. Quite frankly, I had to unlearn what I learned in treatment in order to get what you had to offer. And you told me I had to get stupid. I didn't have far to go. It's going to be a short trip for you, Kenny. But I want to tell you, that was a rough road. The language you use, the sayings you use, just pour your heart out with somebody and they just say, easy does it. Why didn't I think that on my own? Look, nobody could have been doing it any easier than me in 1988, okay? I'm going to tell one more story of myself about Texas. I met a man in Manning, Louisiana at the Hodges Garden conference. In my story, I talked about liking cars and fooling with automobiles and whatnot. And after the meeting, he ran up and he showed me a picture of an old 29 Model A Ford that he restored. And man, he was just so proud, and we became friends. And I think I'm not quite sure if he lived in Beaumont or Orange, somewhere in that area. But he was well known and he was well planted in Alcoholics Anonymous. And a year or so passed by and he invited me to come speak. And anytime I get invited to go anywhere, I go. And he picked us up at the airport in a regular automobile, which was nice. But the conference was being held in a different location than the hotel. So it was myself and a fellow from Maryland who was a huge man. He said, you boys come on outside at 6:30. I'll pick you up at the hotel, and we'll go to the conference. I said, cool. So we're standing out there and waiting for him. Well, lo and behold, here he comes in that 28 Ford. Man, and I know that this man went out of his way to do that, right? And I think that so many of us do those little, small, menial things for one another that just mean so much. Man, this big guy, he insisted in getting in the back seat. I mean, the whole car is about this wide, right? And he got all folded up back in it like a pretzel. Boy, me and the old man is going now. The windshield's only about this big, about that wide. So we get on the interstate. We happen, it's like 6 lanes across, right? We just happened to go around this curve and it was just huge, huge. I don't know, I didn't even know what it was, but it was a golden yellow color. Big, big, big. It took up all 6 lanes. And I just said, what is that? And he looked at me and he says, what is what? I said, what is that? He says, it's the sun. I said, that big? He says, Kenny, everything in Texas is big. I can only imagine what that man thought of. God. When I get this boy to the conference, I'm going to have to give him diarrhea or something. So, just because I don't know simple things is probably a good thing because it leaves the opportunity for me to learn some things. Before I start, I'm going to get my glasses here, and I'm going to read something that I believe a man gave me this. Matter of fact, 25 years ago. He was my sponsor. I don't know if this means anything to you, but it sure means a lot to me. He handed this to everybody that came into the rooms with his phone number on the back. Anytime anyone says or does something that disturbs me in any way, the cause is within myself. Nothing anyone says or does can harm me in any way, except if I let it. I am the sum total of all previous experiences. Now, the reason that I find it necessary to read that little bit is I believe that what you're looking at tonight, or you're going to listen to or hopefully listen to, is a total previous experience of not only did the people that I met within my life prior to coming to Alcoholics Anonymous, but I would like to refer more to the people who I met once I got to Alcoholics Anonymous. There's a part in the big book of, let me back up a second. I want you to know that I don't know what will work for you. I really don't. I can only share with you if I'm honest, and the book tells me I need to be thorough and honest. And I want to share with you what worked for me without being so dogmatic as to say what will work for you. I don't know. I really don't know. If I did, I would charge you for it. Why not? I want to mention a couple of people who have been. Mick and I were talking, and I've had this conversation with many, many people. In 1989, May 12, 1989, I was surrounded by some spiritual giants, and I didn't even know it. 2 weeks sober, I can remember having dinner with a fellow by the name of Clancy. He just looked like old drunk to me. So these are the people that were around and influenced me. And I think that what you have tonight is a sum total of all the previous experience of these people. Dewey Marlowe, Louis and Susan Sams, Charles Bertel, Chicken Charlie, Raging Cajun, Earl Husband, Tom Brady, Gail LaCroix, Bob Bazance, Frank Mauser, Mickey B., Tom I., Mel Barga, Joe McQueenie, Charles Parmley, Joe Hawk, Chuck C., David A., Clancy I., and Ray O'Keefe, and thousands upon thousands of other people, such as yourself, have influenced me into a life that I can enjoy this new happiness and this new freedom that you spoke about. Share another thing with you. In the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, it says we have to lay aside all prejudice that we have, even against organized religion. I'm 59 years old. I'm not proud of this, but I'm proud of what I'm getting ready to tell you. I grew up doing segregation. I grew up in a racist home. We're going to have to lay aside all prejudice that we have against organized religion, even organized religion. This is my dear friend, Joe McQueenie. If you've ever heard of Joe and Charlie, this man has influenced my life. This man happens to be a black man. Watch what happens to your life when you come here, because we will change things in you, and you won't even know it until one day you wake up and you go, God, I miss that man. I miss that person. If I could just have one more conversation, one more phone call. Most of those people I just read off are all dead now. I'm approaching 25 years sober. In my area, it's a shame to say, but all the old-timers have died. They're gone. I was telling Mick at dinner, I've been going to the same home group for 24 years. We have a banner that we put in front of the table, and it says, we grow old-timers. And that's why I went to that group, and that's why I was attracted to that group. Nobody told me I had to do anything. I remember a guy told me one night when I was new, he says, you know what, Kenny? He says, I believe you can do this. I said, wow. I didn't even believe I could do this. I went back the next week, and there he was, again. Go walk out the door, and he says, hey, you made another week, huh? I believe you can do this. You keep coming back. I thought in my mind, you know what? They know I just got out of treatment, and they want to know the latest stuff on alcoholism. That's why they want me to come back. And I went back the week after, and the week after, and the week after, and the week after. Little bit at a time. A little bit progress at a time. Progress I didn't even know it was taking place when it was taking place. I got some fear for Alcoholics Anonymous these days because I'm not quite sure that we're teaching people what we were taught. I served as an archivist for the state of Louisiana for many years. What a delightful time to be new sober and to be thrown into that arena of people and things and the history of Alcoholics Anonymous. It's a funny thing because it seems as though God had it all planned for me way prior to me even being born that I would end up in Alcoholics Anonymous on May 12, 1989. My sponsor had to remind me the day that I had that last drink. He says, Kenny, do you think that God has picked this date for you? What are you talking about? He says, well, I know you've been reading that book, Pass It On, because you won't read the big book. Now, here's my thinking. If I can find out how Bill Wilson did it before the steps. Huh? You get it? Easier, softer way, right? Then I would do what Bill Wilson did. And then I won't have to do all of that. True story. Mel Barger is a person I got to meet years ago at Tahlequah, Oklahoma, who wrote the book, Pass It On. So he said, today is the day that Bill Wilson met Dr. Bob, May 12th, 1935. Do you think God picked that date for you? And quite frankly, I don't know if he did or not. But I've thought about that a lot. I'm going to bring that date back up later on, if I remember. And I'll let you decide that if the little things that happen in your life and on this journey that keep popping up time and time again. I'm supposed to tell you how I was and what happened and what I'm like now. We were talking tonight, how it was and what happened, always it stays the same. But what I'm like now keeps changing. It keeps morphing into something else. And quite frankly, I'm pleased with the results that I have gotten from Alcoholics Anonymous. I grew up big house, commune style living, grandmother, grandfather. I had a retarded uncle, another aunt, another uncle, 2 sisters, and myself and my father. From New Orleans, so came from a list of great cooks. We were always cooking, never locked our doors. Neighbors would come in and out. There was always commotion at my house, always, about something. As I said, my dad was an over-the-road truck driver, and sometimes he would leave for months. I wouldn't see him. I don't know about you, but ever since I've been a little boy, I knew in the depths of my soul, for some reason, I was different. And it wasn't just because I was a boy. I was different. I can remember the very first day that I went to kindergarten. And my mother held my hand, and she turned me loose, and I walked into that room with all those kids. There was about 30 or 35 kids in that room. I can't begin to tell you the fear that overcame me that day. I could have used a drink that day. I ain't lying. Anyway, Catholic school, I guess you can tell I got big ears. I've been drug around by nuns for the better part of my young life because I had a bad attitude or bad something. I don't know. I never did like school. School never could capture my interest. If you want to talk about history, or if you want to talk about science or geography or something of that nature, fine. I can excel in those areas. Reading, writing, arithmetic, penmanship. Oh, come on. Get a rubber stamp. Catechism. Let me tell you what happened to me in catechism at about 6. We were sitting, and they had some little tables, and all of the kids, and there's 5 or 6 kids at a table, and we were supposed to color biblical scenes. Mine happened to be one of Jesus. And by the time that I sat down, there was only one Crayola left, and it was green. Now, I'm pretty good at art, and I can draw. Even at a young age, I knew that I had a talent. I mean, I stayed in the lines, didn't put too much pressure. Slick as glass, right? This nun came over there and grabbed a hold of me, snatched me up, and drug me out that building, and just wore me out. Why? What? Jesus is not green. Can you prove that? I will be so happy today if I get to heaven and Jesus is green. Does anybody in this room know if he's green or not? All right. You go to Catholic school around nuns, don't color Jesus green. That's a tip for you. I don't know what it is. But when we got into this religion thing, I would ask questions, and I thought they were just significant questions. There was Cain and Abel. Cain killed Abel, and then they moved to another town, and he married somebody else. But there was only 4 people on earth. Who did he marry? Pop! Supernatural mystery. Why didn't I think of that? So all I know is I asked anything about higher power or God, I got the wrong answer, or I got beat up. Right? Well, I don't know. I think I came in Alcoholics Anonymous as an agnostic, not an atheist. I had a dear friend, and we shared friendships with our taper back there, that he came in as an atheist, a card-carrying atheist. And Charlie B. used to say all the time, he said, something spiritual would happen, he would say, well, it's a God thing. It's a God thing, Kenny. This is coming from somebody who is an admitted atheist. You see, he was rather financially stable, and to make his family mad, he would go to church with one of his friends, and they would find out, they would pop a cork. But the definition I heard of an atheist is a person who doesn't believe in God. And an agnostic is a person who believes in God, but acts as though that they don't. And you know, that was me, May 12th, 1989. If you would have asked me anything about if I believed in God, I would have told you, yes, certainly I do. But if you would have looked at my actions, you would have went, that boy, he didn't even get up to atheist yet. So I learned that my actions didn't match what I was talking about. And after being in this program for 24 years, I'm positive that on a daily basis, I wander in and out of agnosticism. I can get up in the morning, I can just be prayed up to the max, you hear? And I'm out, come on, Kenny, I'm getting me a tambourine and a tent ball, I'm going to go save the world. Until that person pulls in front of me, a block away from home, right? And then I kind of lean over to the agnosticism side. I think through the time that I've spent in Alcoholics Anonymous, there are levels, and I think they're imaginary, but nevertheless, I think there are different levels that we go through. We come in for the first 5 years, and I don't know about anybody here, but you know, for the very first year, I really knew all the history. I knew all the players. I knew all of that. But looking back, you know what I learned in my first year of sobriety? I learned one thing. I learned how to stay away from one drink one day at a time. You know what I learned when I was 5 years sober? That I was living a lie. That I knew what I needed to do, but I didn't do it. And I went from 5 years to 7 years warring with myself miserably if I was going to do it or not. Oh, I do a little inventory here and a little sorting there and a little amends there. Thank God my sponsor in the beginning had me do the big ones first. Like the guy I embezzled $260,000 from, and he was in the mafia. And my sponsor took 3x5 cards, and each person, I need to make amends, we had a name. And he spread them all on the table after a meeting one day, and he says, which one of these do you want to not do? The worst, you won't do. I said, this one right here. Now, I came in Alcoholics Anonymous suicidal. I wanted to die. I just didn't know how to do it, or I didn't have the guts to do it. I welcomed death. He said to me, we will go see him Saturday. No, you don't understand. Look. There's certain restaurants in New Orleans that are just some deals are made in, you know. If you know French, it's called le sous la table. It's under the table. Deals are made under the table. And a lot of these people are mafioso, you know. And the partner I had, we would go to these restaurants and just walk into the kitchen. And the tables would come, the tablecloths would come, the waiter would come, a candle would come, and they would just bring you food. You didn't order, and we got up and we walked out. Pretty impressive, pretty impressive. So there was no doubt in my mind, this guy's connected. I said, man, look, this guy's going to kill me or he's going to have me killed. There's no sense in really going over there Saturday, you know. I mean, well, I think I got about 4 weeks under my belt, you know. Well, within those 4 weeks, like, everybody I met was beautiful. I loved everybody, you know. Hey, yeah, hey, Kenny, you go, hey, I know, hey, I love you, I love you too. Hey, easy does it, one day at a time. And then I went to this meeting, and I don't think I liked anybody. There was this one guy I really didn't like. I didn't like what he wore, I didn't like what he said, I didn't like nothing about him. And I started planning in my head. I wonder if I could back over that guy, like in a parking lot or something. Oh, whoa, I didn't see him, you know. I started planning. I'm going to get that guy. I happened to tell my sponsor about it. I went to this meeting, and I don't like nobody over there. But there was one guy, I hate him. I said, I'm planning some kind of way to get him. Oh, he said, my sponsor said, it's great news. That's great news, Kenny. That's great news. He says, yeah. 4 weeks ago, you were suicidal. Now you're homicidal. You're getting out of self. Got this thing down now, dude. Okay. The sponsors I've had all told me, and there have been several, I've wore a lot of them out. Everything I needed to know, not about not drinking, but about life, is in this book. Matter of fact, he made me buy this big, big book because he said I was reading more of the white than the black. And see, the black is bigger for people like me. See, look at my book. Look, I can color, see? Look. Huh? Do you want to be able to color like that at 24 years sober? Just wanted the gifts of sobriety. There's a line. It's right after we make an amends. And it says something to the effect that in 9 out of 10 cases, the unexpected happens. I think that's worth repeating. In 9 out of 10 cases, the unexpected happens. My sponsor brought me to the worst amends first because he didn't want me dilly-dallying around and dying of alcoholism. He didn't say, let's go do the easier, softer ways, the ones you've owed $5 to, that you beat them out of a tire for an automobile. He brought me to the worst one. God, oh man, he comes Saturday day, he comes with that old Dodge van, the 8-frame all leaning out, and oh God. I'm trying to tell him, oh, I got diarrhea, I got, I can't go, Get in. He had a nickname for me, a pet name. He called me Jackass. Get in, jackass. Take that coat hanger and lock the door. Oh, man, the closer we got to my business. Because you see, remember I told you the day that I cried out and I said, God, whatever you got to do, whatever you got to do, I don't care what it is. God, I got enough. I've got enough. Do it. 2 weeks later, that partner of mine had me thrown out of a business that I owned 51% of. Now, talk about resentment. When I took an inventory, you see, because I was the one who was running this business, and I learned all this stuff from when I was a kid, and my dad used to take me to the drag strip when I was a kid. When he'd come home, and I've always loved fast cars and the possibility of dying. Serious. I like the smell of burning rubber. I like the smell of fuel. I like when the cars catch on fire and they got to pull him out. Everybody cheers. Huh? God, that's attractive to me, you know? Or the girl with the teased hair and the high heels. Got tattooed on her head, loser. Oh, bet. I got a wacko magnet, okay? I'm sorry. So, God, I was scared that day. I went in there. I said, I need to talk to Jay. Boy, I mean, everybody in the place was looking at me like, this ain't gonna be good. They better call the cops now. I went in and I sat down and I said, Jay, look, I'm in Alcoholics Anonymous now. He says, yeah, he says, I heard you got bad. So sorry. I said, well, look, I'm here trying to straighten out my past, and they tell me in Alcoholics Anonymous that I got to come and make right with you. And I want you to know that I stole $260 from you. And you know, in 9 out of 10 cases, the unexpected happens because this man's tears started running down his face. He had a son and happened to be gay, and there was always a conflict between him and his son. And he said, you know, Kenny, you have been the son that I've always wanted. He said, but you got just so far out of hand that I couldn't let you go any further. He said, it hurt me to do what I had to do to you. And if you need some money, do you need some money? He says, I heard you working for those people for free. Yeah, they do make me do some weird stuff. I wash styrofoam cups, sweep floors, and pick up cigarette butts. And they pay, how much they pay? Nothing. You know what that man told me? I said, I tell you what we do, Kenny. How long have you been sober now? I think it was 2 months. If you stay sober and you continue doing what you're doing right now, we're even. You drink, I want my money. And I just know like somebody was going to jump out of the tile or something. Kind of backed up. Thank you, sir. I went in there thinking this man wanted to kill me. And this man sat there and made amends to me. And he did the very best thing that anyone could ever do to me. Is he brought in all the powers at one time down on me. I think the rest of those amends got rather easier now that we got that big one on the side. Thank God he had the intuition to know that. I think it's also fair to say to you, he died with 26 years sober. He was a hobo wino. He traveled the rails. He's the one who wrote that or gave me that little pamphlet that I read. It took him 11 years in Alcoholics Anonymous to put together 1 year of sobriety. And he told me, he says, Kenny, don't you ever look down your nose at somebody who keeps coming in and out of Alcoholics Anonymous. It took me 11 years. I hope I never forget that. But I've said a little thing about AA, I think is changing in some way, and I think it has to do with what we're doing. Let's forget about all the outside forces. Are you giving your sponsees what was given to you? I don't know. I know the greatest thing that you've done for me is you didn't talk to me. You listened. You listened to me. When I didn't have nothing to say, you listened. And you thought, he looked in the book. Well, seems like it says right here. What's this here? Everything I need to know about living's in this book. That's almost inconceivable. This is almost like having an iPad and what? A tablet and jobs right here. I don't know a blueberry from a blackberry from, I know this. When I got sober, my wife, my then wife, who we went to grammar school with, we, get this right, we dated for 11 years and we were married for 19. Don't want to make no rash decisions, you know. Kind of feel things out. So she has seen the very worst of Kenny. And fortunately, she's seen the last 24 years of Kenny. When I got sober, we lived in separate rooms. One of the people I mentioned was Tom Brady. He said one night, he said, if nothing is going on between you and your spouse vertically, there's nothing going on horizontally. I'm like, whoa, that's deep. You know what? A lot of resentment in my life. The Catholics beat me. When I got home, my mother put newspaper on the floor and put uncooked rice on newspaper, made me kneel on newspaper while she beat me with a coat hanger for something that she was real or imagined that I did. And when my dad would come home, she would tell him that I did something 2 months ago. I don't believe that man wanted to beat me, but she pushed him to it. Now, I don't want any more of it, but I'm going to tell you, I could take an ass whooping. I can crawl out from sheetrock at 8 or 9 years old. And because you know what I learned? If I cry, my daddy would say, if you keep crying, I'm going to give you some more. Well, we'll just minimize this to one ass whooping. And I'd ask him, you through? And you know, some kind of way, I guess he would come to himself. My dad, I quit school in 11th grade. I hated it. I hated it. I went to school every day in 11th grade. Every day, every day, every day, every day. One time I went on Saturday. I didn't even know it was Saturday. I showed up, nobody was there. Every day I went to school. I didn't go in, but I went. I was one of the great pinball players in New Orleans. While I was in school, I was at Froststar playing pinball. They sent a card home to my house that I had missed 138 days. I told my mother, that's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah, they threw me out. All right, my dad did the best that he could do because he was going to teach me an occupation, because he told me very early on, just because I call you son, it doesn't think that I think you bright. From 12 years old, I learned how to drive a tractor trailer. We used to come up to a place in North Louisiana called Cotton Valley, Louisiana, and haul petroleum naphtha, what is known as to be lighter fluid. At 12 years old, I could drive an 18-wheeler with 9,000 gallons of lighter fluid on a highway at 12 years old. But when I got home and asked him if I could use the car, he wanted to know if I was stupid. He was going to teach me a vocation, and he was going to teach me the only vocation that he knew. And when I quit school, it was just about the time that gasohol came into the picture, the first time. A lot of people in Louisiana put a lot of money behind that. My dad worked for a mobile jobber in, by this time, he was driving primarily local, home every night. And so I got a job. And because we were hauling alcohol, a portion of alcohol, and then had to go and haul the gasoline, we got paid a nice hazardous pay. At 18, there was not a refinery within 1,000 miles that I couldn't load at. And you had to be on the ball when you got qualified to come into a refinery and to load. I was making anywhere from $1,000 to $1,100 a week. Pretty good money, huh? 18. Now, I had no bennies, but I had money. Then I learned what money can do, but the only problem is my dad got sick, and he had 18 operations in 20 years. And let me back up a second, because when I was 16, skipping school, I came home one day, and something was strange. My dad was there, my mom was there, and I had a cousin who was an attorney. He was there. And they looked like they had a bunch of legal papers. Kenny, come on in, I want to talk to you. I'm 16. I said, listen, all the trouble that you've been causing, we afraid that you're going to do something and we're going to lose the house and everything that Dad's ever worked for. So what we're going to do is we're going to have you emancipated. I don't even know how to spell that word today. What? My cousin was a little on the rough side. He says, well, in other words, the family's going to disown you. Disown me? Well, like I have to live under the house and my sister will feed me through the step, or what? He says, no, legally, your mother and your father are going to disown you. Man, I didn't know of anybody who got disowned at 16. I hadn't even gone to jail yet. These people ought to have patience and tolerance like we do in AA. Love and tolerance, huh? At least let me go to jail 4 or 5 times. From 16 on, I started planning. One day, I'm going to get even with you. I'm going to get even with you. It may take me a while, but I'm going to get even with you. And I think that only turned me against them even worse. Going to work with my dad one day, and God, my dad was a perfectionist. And he could hear imaginary air leaks, you know? And he'd want me to go over there in that tractor trailer and see if I could find him. And we got in an argument. And I can remember slamming the door, getting out of that truck and telling him, come on, let's go. Me and you right here, right now. I'm tired of you whooping on me. I'm tired of you downing me. That's hour and a half he wouldn't come out of that truck. And that's what I thought. You can dish it out, but you can't take it, huh? He never hit me again. Matter of fact, I overheard him telling his mother, Kenny became a man today. He called me down. Well, the only thing I knew was driving a truck and fooling with automobiles. I fooled with all automobiles. My dad would tear motors down apart right in the street. Little kid. Put them back together. I got a job working in a salvage yard. I could take 2 cars, cut them in half, put them together, put a different motor in it, rear end in it, side quarter bound, whatever. I could do anything you want to do a car. So I could drive a truck, and I know all about cars. and I like hot rods. And women, that's a little on the trashy side. I don't even know where I got that from, but it's a song. So, we get married. I finally get married, and somebody suggested to me that, you know, Kenny, you really need to settle down. You've been dating this girl for 11 years, off and on. You put her through hell, and you really need to get married. By that time, my dad had passed on, and my two sisters hemmed me up, and they said, Kenny, you've been dating this girl, you know, since Mom died. She's been all depressed, and she don't want to eat, and she don't want to talk, and if you got married, we could have a big wedding. Her mama would have to pay for it. We could have a big party, and Mom may come out of this depression. Now, do you know what I heard out of that conversation? Bingo. A big party. I married Jeffrey Dahmer if we're going to have a big party. All right, 19 years later, 1988, August the 2nd, I went into treatment, and about a week or two before that, when I got married, I got my dream. I got a house with my shop right behind the house. And I had worked at some big companies and salvage yards and whatnot, and doing great. And one night I had been away, of course on business, for about three days. And when I was coming back home, I got to thinking, you know, I bet you she's going to wonder where I have been for 3 days. And the only reason I came home is to have money. And I didn't want to go home because that's where she lived. But what do? So I formulated a plan because the book talks about the keen alcoholic mind, right? Here's my plan. I'm going to get a run down the street. It's in commercial property, so there's nobody up and nothing. I'm going to get a good run at it. I'm going to cut the motor off. I'm going to glide right in there like that stealth bomber we got. And I'm going to slip in, get in that bed, and I'll be able to convince her I was there the whole time. Hey, it seemed perfectly logical to me. Now, I know a lot about automobiles, but sometimes, I don't know if this happens in Texas, but sometimes when I drink, my mind gets cloudy and I forget things. And I forgot that when you cut a vehicle that has automatic power steering and power brakes off, so I got a good run at it now. Cut it off, cut the lights off, and here I go. You ever tried to drive a car with power steering that don't have power steering? I maneuvered this thing in between these two cars. I mean, I don't know how I did it. A coat of paint. I went to go hit the brakes, no brake. Boom, boom. The back of the truck, boom. I run smack into the house. Woo, I was completely sober. I didn't need AA or sponsor or nothing. Come to be, she was sleeping on the sofa on the other side of the wall. I knocked her off the sofa, and her head hit the coffee table. Boy, she came out that door with that Al-Anon handshake. Just... Now, I don't know how this goes. A good offense is a good defense, or a good defense, I get them confused. But all I knew is I had to think quick, right? I haven't got over the wreck yet, but now I got people hollering at me. And they got the right guy. I said, listen, shut up. Because let me tell you something. You know I got a problem. You've been knowing I got a problem. You ain't done nothing to help me out. I hear you on the phone telling your mama and all your high-class friends about how this, that, and you love me. And you don't love me, because if you loved me, you would help me. And boy, she backed off. I was tired, so I went to go take a nap. Next morning, I woke up, not a word was said. See who runs this house, huh? Without me, it ain't nothing. Strange thing happened. About 2 weeks later, I found myself basically in the same predicament. AA had kicked in because I intuitively knew, don't cut the motor off. Just go in there and tell her what you told her last time. About how she didn't do nothing and she don't love you, and she went for it last time. And I did. And she went and sat down. I went to bed. About an hour and a half later, she come woke me up, and she says, come on, get up. What's the matter? She says, I got a hold of a treatment center, and we're going to go down there and see about your alcoholism. I said, whoa. You're making way too much of this, aren't you? Well, you know, I'm always trying to help people out, and she done made the appointment, so might as well go over there and see what they're talking. Now, all I can remember was Rod there was going, God, I can't believe I'm going to go do this. What if my friends find out I'm in treatment? Oh, God. What if the wrong people try to save my life? We got in there, and you know what? Some magic happened. And the magic I want to talk about is not the treatment center, but the counselor had 2 years sober. And we sat in a room, and she shared with me, didn't fill out no form, didn't ask me questions off of no list, out of no book. She just asked me, she said, Kenny, do you sometimes drink when you don't want to? Yeah. I don't know why I do that, but yeah, I do that. She says, what happens when you drink? I said, I know, but for a long time, I could drink with the best of them. For 17 and a half years, I could roll it up with the best of y'all. But it came a time when I said, look, I got enough. I went home. But now, it seems like if I just take one drink, I can't stop. And I don't know, maybe I'm crazy. I don't know. Maybe y'all can help me. And she said, Kenny, you got alcoholism. Now, at the time, I was doing a lot of outside issues, and it wasn't fashionable to be an alcoholic. Yeah. If you're a movie star now and you ain't been in treatment, you're not going to get a global globe, a statue or nothing. You got to go to treatment first. Come back and make a good movie, you know? So I learned that day about the language of the heart, not any intellectual, Freudian, Carl Jung stuff, but just one drunk talking to another. Now, I wish I could tell you, you know, when that person talked to me, man, I came and I took to AA like duck like water. Just didn't happen. Didn't happen. I challenged them people every kind of which way that they could. I had a counselor. She had just went through 3 years to learn how to be a chemical dependent counselor. Quit on my 26th day because she couldn't take any more of me. And matter of fact, I got her name badge at my house today. She got up on the coffee table and she was screaming at me, pointing down. You got to deal with your anger. I said, who's on top of the table screaming? Same thing with the Catholics, right? I'm the one with the problem. She's nutting up. She quit. Okay. Come out of treatment, baby. I'm rocking and rolling now, okay? Whew. Man. Whew. Glad we got that over. Come to AA. He says, you got to go to 9 meetings in 9 days. I said, listen, I can't. I'm real busy. Oh, you work? You work? Well, no, not really. What do they call them? I'm a consultant. What do you consult? Well, on anything. Well, they made me get a job. Guess what I had to go do? I had to go drive a truck. Golly. 2.5 years. You know how much I got a week? $50. My wife got to $200. I can remember telling my sponsor, I used to spend this on matches. Huh? You're right where you're supposed to be. How are you so sure of that? Because that's where you are. Oh, why didn't I think of that? All right, let's cut this short, or a little bit shorter. For whatever reason, God put me in the right place at the right time with the right people. And they told me that AA is not at conferences, AA is not at meetings, AA is not your sponsor, AA is one drunk talking to another. And what we talk about is what's in this book. In this book will bring you to a new freedom and happiness. Mickey talked about that we're bound together in new and wonderful ties. If you don't know what that is, it's available to you. I prayed and I asked God, please, please, God, I don't want to drive a truck. I really don't. Can you please, please deliver me from this? You know, when you get sober, there's a couple of little things they want you to do. And they said, the main thing we want you to do, Kenny, is just one thing. We want you to change everything. Right? Can't hang around your old friends, playmates, playpens. Got to go to meetings. Got to try to help other people. Can't drink. And stop being so damn sarcastic. And when you do, make amends. Jeez. You sure you ain't got a couple other things? I mean, when I was a kid, I was always fascinated with animals, and I had an uncle who was Cajun French and taught me a lot about nature and things, and I've always had animals of some sort. And I used to raise fish in some kind of way. Since I couldn't go around my playmates and play for places and all, I developed a passion for building water gardens and decks and gazebos and greenhouses. I mean, so far removed from who and what I was when I was drinking and coming up. But I found some therapy in it. I found that my mind was not racing uncontrollably, and that with a little work, I could actually do things that I didn't even know I could do. And I can remember people asking me, did you make that out of some plans or something? I said, no, just, well, how did you know how to do that? I said, I didn't know how to do it. I just didn't know I couldn't do it. And, you know, God has been good to me because I have been blessed with a great deal of talent in many different ways. And one is just, I'm very creative, no matter what I do. After Katrina, I ended up in an apartment, and I decorated the apartment, and a bunch of my AA friends came in, and they looked around, and they went, whoa, dude, you need to come out of that closet. I don't know what that meant, but probably the 12 and 12. I don't read that too much. Anyway, I had 5 minutes. All right. Can we restart it? God took me, and he run me from one end to the country to the other, building water gardens in koi ponds for a nationally known big company in Chicago, while I owned my own company. I have probably written 10 different articles in trade magazines. I've appeared on 4 or 5 covers of trade magazines about a subject that I knew nothing about when I got to Alcoholics Anonymous. You can't get there from here. When the economy went bust and Katrina tore New Orleans up and whatnot, I finally had to surrender. I was just tired of doing what I was doing. I was physically not capable of doing what I was doing. My mother got Alzheimer's. My aunt got heart problems, and I ended up taking care of them, moving in and taking care of them, and I ended up having to go bankrupt. And I was so proud of myself pre-Katrina, because I could walk into several banks and people address me as Mr. Floyd. And I was so far out on that limb when Katrina hit that when the economy hit, I just couldn't. I lost the house that I raised my daughter in, probably 95% of my possessions. And now God's got me taking care of a 91 and a 92-year-old, one with Alzheimer's and one with hospice. And I'm well ill-prepared for doing what I do. But it's only because of people like you in rooms like this that I have learned that all things are possible through God. And I don't wake up happy, joyous, and free every day. But I just try to do the very best I can. And I take care of the lady who used to make me kneel on rice and beat me with a coat hanger. And I do it with a small amount of dignity and a great deal of pride that y'all allow me to do that. A new freedom and a new happiness. That's what you have given me. I don't work. I own 11 cars, only 3 run. I heard somebody say, Kenny, LTD. I went, Ford? No, you're living the dream. 4 months ago, I wanted to tell you real quick, I had to sell a professional race car to make my amends 24 years ago. 4 months ago, I bought that car back in the same condition I sold it because the guy who bought it became a millionaire and shoved it in the corner. I got that car back. I truly want to thank each and every one of you for listening to me. I believe that when we come to AA and you say that we're going to love you until you can love yourself, the greatest thing you have done is you have listened to me. And you've heard my cry. And when you listen, it's an act of love, if you know it or not. Thank you for loving me.
I think we got a great talk going on here. Thanks for watching the channel. Taper Dave here. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with, and it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone, through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs, long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst and one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, oop, out, in, up, down. And then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button. Swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right, but I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.